Morning. Well, we're here again to fellowship and worship God in spirit and truth again. And I thank the Lord for that privilege that we have. That God grants it to us. He's so good to us. He blesses us in so many ways that we don't really give Him credit for all that He does for us. We're missing quite a few people this morning, but we're here. I used to, an old preacher used to do it as well. You know, plus it's the one that's here about the one that wasn't here. That didn't do good because the one that wasn't here didn't hear the message. It's just the one that was here. So we thank the Lord that you're here. And I'm not one that wants to put a prop under it, and because Christ had made a statement where 2 or 3 gather my name, He just said, whenever you gather in my name, big or little numbers, I'm in the midst in His name. And to excuse our numbers as they go up and they go down, that's not the purpose. If you have your Bibles, turn to the 11th chapter of St. John, to a well-known story in the Scriptures that relates to death and dying and raising and resurrecting and so on and so forth as it goes, that the Lord used. Now, oftentimes, things that would happen where Christ would use them to His benefit to glorify the Father and to get a message and prove a point and prove something in His everyday ministry and walk of life that will help people. This happens to be a story about a friend of Christ's, which was named Lazarus, and he was sick. Now, in beginning with verse 1 of chapter 11, and I'm going to kind of hasten through this chapter because there's some other places that I want to go. But Lazarus was sick, according to the first verse, and he was the best in the town. And of course, he had 2 sisters, Mary and Martha. And he goes into verse 2, because the writer does, to explain who this Mary was and what she had done. And of course, that appeared again on over in the chapter. But it was the Mary which anointed the Lord with Lord wiped His feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was dead. That's who the Mary he's talking about. There's so many Marys in the Scripture, and of course he was letting them know which Mary in particular who this was. So his sister, therefore his sister said unto him, said, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. Here's a man that Christ loved, a people and a family that He loved, and here's the man that was sick. And I'm glad, and I think that it is good for the people and for us as well to know that Christ was not at their home at this point in time to perform the miracle that He is going to perform before the very eyes. Now, I want you to think with me on this just a little bit. Christ needed to prove beyond the shadow of doubt that one could be dead, stinking, and corrupting, and come back to life or be resurrected. He needed to prove that. And I think for the very purpose of the message that He was conveying to them, that in 3 days, for 3 days, He would be in the heart of the earth, that He would be dead, and that He Himself would resurrect. Now, one of the things that we need to understand here, Lazarus was not being resurrected out of a dead physical state to immortality at all here. It was proven that Christ was going to be able, whenever Christ would perform this same act without Christ's presence, before the very eyes, that he too would resurrect by the awesome power of the Almighty God. Now I hope you understand that. Now Christ came to Lazarus and Martha, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus' house, but he abode still after he heard that Lazarus was dead 2 days, where he was at. Now he had went back to Jordan, and that's where he was at, where John first was baptizing, and where he first met up with him, and of course some of his disciples as well. But the point is, he was not in the city, or he was not in Bethany. He was not close to where they lived, and it was a fairly good journey. Now, I don't know how long exactly it would take for him to get back, but it was a fairly good journey from where he was at back to Mary and Martha's house and where Lazarus was at. So he goes back. Then after that, he said to his disciples, let's go to Judea again. Now, they had been there not long before, but his disciples said unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again. In other words, you was there, they wanted to kill you and stone you, and drive you out, whatever they had in mind, but you want to go back. Now there's an important lesson to be learned here as well. Not only concerning Christ's delay and Lazarus being sick, but listen to what Christ had to say. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If a man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world, or he is walking in daylight. But if a man walk in the night, which is the end of the day and darkness is come, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. So he can't see where he's going. And he uses a comparison here to prove something. Now, if you were to go back to the 9th chapter of St. John, they said, who sinned? The mother, the father, or the son? Nobody had sinned, but Jesus went on to explain that it was time then, he had to walk in the day. Night comes and don't make him work. There was something that needed to be done. And he said it's necessary at the present time for you to do what God's will is. Don't put it off. Don't be afraid of who you're going to face or what you're going to find when you get there. But it is day. It is time. I must do the work now. You cannot put off the work of the Lord until a future time. And remember that. If you think you can, you're badly mistaken. Whenever the Spirit is right, whenever the calling is right, whenever the people are right, whenever whatever necessary needs to be done is there, it has to be done in that season, and that time, and at that time. Do you understand that? And so it was day. It was time to do, not wait. And he said, we've got 12 hours in a day to do this. Now you think about it. Now, I want to put this in. Now this is just extra. People have 6 days to do everything they do all week long. And then worship the Lord on Sunday. As we call Sunday, first day of the week. But people don't do that. They work for themselves all week, and then take the Lord's time on Sunday sometimes. You know that? That's just something to think about. We need to be careful, don't we, Robbie? Because we could wind up losing our soul. Good. Well, get this. He is going to do, according to the 9th chapter, let me go back and read that because you probably better understand it from their own word. And third verse and fourth verse, he said, Jesus, they'd asked the question, who's sinned, who's burnt, or that he's born blind. Neither hath this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. Lazarus is a position again where that Christ is going to indeed perform a great work. Now, if you were to go to the 2nd chapter of Acts, it's either the 1st or the 2nd, I'd have to turn there to remember the exact chapter. It's the 2nd chapter. You men of Israel, this man I'm talking about Christ, approved of God for many miracles and works. And you've crucified, you've killed, and all that. God is raised from the dead. Now, remember this, Lazarus was sick, he was still alive, and now Christ comes along and tells his disciples, our friend, verse 11, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may wake him out of his sleep. Christ did not see, and he's not talking about the natural death. But now I want you to understand something. Lazarus was literally, physically dead. There's more to this than the world's mind can comprehend, I think. Now, I hope you can, and I can. I see life much different than anyone else. I know that I physically would die, every one of you. Sooner or later, this body will lay down. You won't live forever. It will lay down. It will die. It will do what God had told Adam was going to happen to it to begin with. It will go back to the dust of the earth. It will perish. It will be gone. This body will be gone. And the word death is spelled the same way. We're talking about a physical death or spiritual death. One of the definitions for the word death means to render inactive. In other words, not doing. But to me, a real meaning for it is no life. No life about it. Dead. Separated from life. And I use that for a definition better because what Christ told, or God told Adam to begin with, day you eat, you're going to die. Let's read up a bit. And so he connected death to that. But we have a problem as human beings whenever we read something to apply it to our natural way of life. It was raised up and somebody died and took them to the graveyard and buried them. The word dead, that's how we used it. All together. That is what's in our mind, and that's how we apply it. But Christ was not looking at it that way. He was saying in his heart, in his mind, I'm going to go wake him up. Now you have to remember something else here. A resurrection of this sort had never taken place. And there was none. Now remember this. There was no resurrection until Christ come. Now, you go back in the Old Testament, where some was healed and raised from the dead is one thing, but they died again. This Lazarus that Christ is going to go get out of the grave was not going to be spiritually immortal in that respect, because this Lazarus was going to die again. He was not being raised to immortality. But Christ was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt in the mind of people, his people, that one can be dead, corrupted, and be resurrected. Not physical, but he used a physical scene to prove a spiritual resurrection. I hope you can understand some of that. But they said he slept. Christ said he was sleeping. The disciples, thinking just normally as humans would, if he's sleeping, he's doing well. And that's verse 12. But verse 13 explains how Jesus thought, how big Jesus spoke of his death, or physical dying. But they thought that he had spoken of taking a rest and sleep. Christ called it sleep, they thought he just rested. But Christ was talking about Lazarus was physically dead. Then said Jesus to them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Our friend Lazarus, he's dead. Now I don't know when he died. Whenever they got the message to Christ, he was still living, according to this. But he tarried 2 days. And I don't know how long it took before he passed on. But I do know one thing, he'd already been buried 4 days when he when he went to the tomb. And there is some question about how long Lazarus had actually been dead. I don't know what the length of their mourning was for the burying him. I'm sure that whenever Lazarus died, the first day he died, I'm sure that they didn't take him out and bury him. But how many days they kept him out, I don't know. And it's not really necessary. But I'm sure of another thing. He had been dead long enough till Mary and Martha said he stunk. So that'd been some little time past. And got up to it. So, and another good thing about that is, now I want to tell you a superstitious thing with the Jews. Now I don't know that it's correct or not. Scripture don't talk about it, other than Paul talked to them and said you're too superstitious about things. But they had a superstition among the Jews that you weren't really dead, or counted dead, until after 3 days had passed. That the spirit hovered around, and if you were really dead, the spirit didn't enter back in, but if not, or the spirit entered back in, and you won't leave it. Now that was just a superstition of the Jews. Now, don't go out and quote that to be any biblical fact or true. I don't know where it is or where it ain't, because there's been a lot of stuff made up over the years to try to justify things. And to me, I would rather think that it's just no fogey idea. But if it were true, the 4 days would certainly get Christ out of raising Lazarus on the third day. And that would get him out of that position, if that be true. Which I don't know that it is, or don't know that it is. But Christ said about Lazarus, and I'm glad for your sake that I was not there. And that was good. To the intent that ye may believe, nevertheless, let's go unto him. You know, it's a strange thing that people have a hard time of believing anything different than what they have normally been accustomed to. Now, the disciples were not accustomed to going to the graveyard and raising people from the dead. They weren't accustomed to that. And he said, I'm glad for yours. And they was having a hard time believing. And again, this is why Christ needs to prove this point. Resurrection in that moment. Now, as we get on over in this chapter, and I hope I get through the whole thing, Christ will answer a question, but now our people have a hard time accepting his answer. Really and truly. They can't separate the idea. See, we, in our mind, have heard all our life of the resurrection, and we believe it's been all the time, but it wasn't up till Christ come. There wasn't none. Go in the Old Testament, it's not in there. It's just not in there. It's not taught at all. Why? It's because everyone was dead. You go to the book of Ephesians, and that's where I wanted to go to as well. They were dead in trespasses and sin, separated from God. They were physically walking around, as far as that's concerned, but they were living under the sentence of death through the whole system. Every system that was there. They were living under that. And life, mortality, immortal, was not mentioned. And I'll tell you the reason why. There wasn't nobody worthy of it. Christ is not going to simply resurrect any one of the old figures of the Old Testament because of their nature. They were earthly. They were dead. They were separated. Spiritually, and those who had died physically, I'm talking about outside of God's will at all, perished. I mean, it was just death. And that's all that it was. But Christ come with a brand new message and a brand new subject, and he was about to prove here that one could be dead and brought back. And he brought him back physically. Now I want to put this in there. You might disagree with this, but I want you to think about it at least. Christ was also resurrected physically. That's the reason why he had this nail, scarred hands. And that's the reason why that they could see it. And that's the reason why that whenever he came to them, they could say, a spirit doesn't have flesh and bone, you'd see me out. He had a physical, resurrected body. And he went about. He really and truly did. He went about. Now, there's a mystery to it as well. And that mystery is where the change comes in the spiritual and the natural, I don't know. But whenever the cloud received him out of their sight, Christ didn't go into heaven with the natural body. You know how foolish some folks are? They think that Christ is up there and going to be over there with the nail-scarred hands for a constant reminder to the saints of God that he was the Son of God. Man, if they don't believe down here, they're not going to get there to believe. I believe he's the Son of God before I die, don't you? He was the Son of God. He's who he was here. And he's not going to have nail-scarred hands walking around, hey, look, this is me. I'm the one. For a constant reminder. You don't need no reminder. You know why? Because you're in him. I mean, you don't. There ain't nobody else come along and tell me who I am. I know who I am. Christ said that his sheep know him. He said they won't follow strangers. I'll put them forth. I'll go before them. My sheep they won't listen to strangers at all. They know my voice. No, I'm glad we do. Well, hopefully I'll get somewhere with this. I don't know. But anyway, they said he's asleep. So nevertheless, let's go to the intent. Now, you've done things just to make it well known or to present it in a way that no one can deny it. To the intent. He said, I'm glad for your sake. Because had he been there, they could have used other things for excuses as to why. But he wasn't there. Now Thomas, which is called Didymus, which is come unto his fellow disciple, let's also go that we might die with him. Now the reason why Thomas made that statement is back up because of verse 8, is because they sought to stone him to death. And of course he slipped out. Then when Jesus came, he found that they had laid him in the grave 4 days already. When he got there. He's already in the grave 4 days. Now Bethany was nigh to Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs, and that's 1/8 of a mile according to the account of measurement of it. And then the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Now Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went to meet him, but Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But now get Martha's frame of mind. But I know that even now, whatever you will ask of God, God will give it to you, to thee. Jesus said to her, thy brother shall rise again. Now you listen to Martha. Martha said to him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Now a lot of folks ain't got the last day figured out yet. They think that the last day is still in our future. It's not. You go to the book of Acts, and he calls it the last day. And you go over to the first chapter of Hebrews, in time past, he spoke to a prophet about his last day. He spoke to it by himself. And the day of Christ, and his ministry and his power was the last day. And that's how Martha was looking at it. Now, they'll be resurrected in the last day. But now, get what Christ had to say. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection. Now, that's what he said. Don't think I said it, because I wasn't been smart enough. That's what he said. But he added something to it. And the life. We're dead. I'm the resurrection. Now what did he told Martha? He said, your brother rise again. He'll rise again. I'm the resurrection. Now get this. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. If you believe in me. Now that has also another side to it. If you don't believe in me, you won't live. If you do believe in me, you'll live. It all boils down to one thing. It's what we can really believe. And what, you know, people that do whatever they believe. It don't matter if it's something that's going to be devastating to them. If they don't see it, they don't hear it, they believe some other way, they'll do it even though it destroys them. Why? Because that's what they believe. Heathens will never come to the Lord because they believe in strange gods. They believe their gods is right. They believe that. And they'll follow their gods. Same way with anything. Whatever you believe. Now get it. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? Now, did you get the connection? He talked about two. He talked about the living and the dead. You that are living and believing in me and trust me shall never die. All the physical is going to lay down, but I am not going to die. The old physical body is, but I'm not. Get this. She said to him, yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which is come into the world. And that's what I believe. And when she had so said, she went her way and called Mary, her sister, secretly, saying, the Master is come and calls for thee. As soon as she had heard that, she quickly came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, so he's outside of the town, and was in the place where Martha met him. The Jews then which were with her in the house and comforted her, when they saw Mary, she rose up hastily and went to follow her, saying, She goeth to the grave to weep there. And when Mary was come where she was, he saw that fell down at his feet. Well, let me back up. And when Mary was come where Jesus was, she saw him. She fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother not died. Same thing Martha, her sister, thought. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and Jesus also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in his spirit, and was troubled. And he said, Where have ye laid him? And they said unto him, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. Now, you don't think that Christ had a physical connection with his friends and his people at that time? He did. The natural man Christ wept because of the natural man Lazarus had died, just like you. One of your loved ones or friends passes on. You're troubled inside, you tore up inside, and you weep and you mourn, right? Why? Because there's a compassion, there's a feeling, there's a loss. There'll be a separation, and you that have people that passed on and gone on, know that physically you're not going to see them anymore with these natural eyes. It takes a strong will and a strong belief to believe that you will see them again in eternity. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I believe it. They don't believe it. They just say it because they read it. Well, you got to get down to the heart where it really counts. And so, he's saying to them, so Christ wept. Then said the Jews, Behold how you love him. That's the love and compassion he had. And some of them said, Could not this man, these miracles that Christ had done, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? If he'd have been here, Martha said he wouldn't have died. Mary said, if you'd have been here, he wouldn't have died. Christ said, I'm glad for your sake I wasn't there, because you'd have said the same thing. That's what you'd have thought. Jesus therefore again groaned in himself, cometh to the grave, and it was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, Take away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he had been dead 4 days. Now, the word dead is added there. I don't think he should have been added there, because I'm sure that he'd been dead longer than 4 days. Because it's just unreasonable to think that the Jews, the way they carried on with things, the way they still do too, that he would have buried him that quick. He'd been dead 4 days. Now, he'd been already in the grave, the tomb 4 days. And I don't think they took him straight to the graveyard buried. But, now, if you look in your scripture, in your Bible, it's added word. Jesus said unto her, Said I not unto thee that if thou wouldst believe it, thou shouldst see the glory of God? Now, what is he talking about over here? If you believe in him, and he said, all right, you'll rise again, resurrection, you shall live. And this is verse 23, 4, 5, and 6. You see the glory of God. They took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. Jesus lifted up his eyes. Now get Christ's prayer. Said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. Get this, and I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of these people, because of the people which stand by, for your sake, he said, I'm glad And I'm glad for your sake that I was not there to the intent. Get this. Because the people had said, I say it that they may believe that thou hast sent me, that I am him. And when they had thus spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Called him from the dead. Now, people with foolish ideals would say that, and I've heard it said from the pulpits, and I guess you have too, that if Christ hadn't called him out by name, that the whole resurrection would take place. Well, let me tell you something, that is not the purpose at all, because there were some more Lazarus as well. He said Lazarus come forth, and there were some more Lazarus. Why didn't they get up? If that be the case. And so that is not the truth. So that is just a foggy ideal people have. And we ought not to ever listen to things of that sort. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot, grave clothes, face was bound with a napkin. Jesus said unto them, loose him and let him go. Now get this. Now there's another message on down in here. Now many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the thing which Jesus did believed on him. So some of them believed. But some of them went their way to the Pharisees and told them what things Jesus had done. Now that's part of the crowd that was there. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees to council and said, what do we, for this man doeth many miracles? If we let him go, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. The Romans shall come and take away both our place and our nation. See, they, as a nation, the Romans allow them to participate in their worship and remember how they done things the Jewish way. But he said, now, if we are not careful, he's going to cause the Romans to come and take away everything. And by the way, there'd be a longer story and a much deeper thing. The Romans did just exactly that at the end of it all. So they were afraid. Now here's a man, get him. And one of them named Capulus, being the high priest that same year, said to them, ye know nothing at all. Get that. Nor consider that it is expedient for us, the Jewish people, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And think about that. Christ would die for people that will believe in him and live. Others won't believe in him and perish. Of the Jewish nation. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, not the high priest, he prophesied that Jesus should die for that nation. And he did. And not for that nation only, but also he should gather together in one the children of God that are scattered abroad. Now, look at the picture. That's a mighty thing. And it was used to glorify the Father. Of course it helped Lazarus. I mean, Lazarus was dead and now he's alive again. And on another occasion, people come to see the Lazarus as well as Christ. But Lazarus would die again and go away, as far as flesh is concerned. But he said this man Christ is going to die, he's going to resurrect, he's going to send back to the Father, and the nation is going to be saved through him. Now you think about that. Doesn't the scripture, Peter, as he refers to it, it's by his stripes that we are healed? By grace are you saved through faith. That's not itself. It's a gift of God. God's love, God so loved the world, he gave his own God. God's love was expressed in all of this. But he had to show them that one could be dead and come back to life and resurrect. And he done that because he needed somebody, some people, to believe whenever he himself would be resurrected. You know, they went so far as to the time whenever Christ gave up the ghost on the cross that they wagged their head and said, surely the Son of God. I mean, they went that far. But to believe that he got up from the grave, that'd be hard to believe. Now, I've heard people make some foolish statements that they believe that somebody up there in the graveyard could have got up and fed done certain things and so on and so. If it doesn't press that much, why didn't he do it? But I don't believe making foolish remarks. Nothing like that of this sort is going to happen unless it's to glorify the Father. That's the only way. And so he done that, and Christ for him, God was glorified. Now, get this. And from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went thence into a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Jewish Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem for the Passover to purify themselves as that season. Then sought they for Jesus, and spake among themselves as they stood in the temple, what think ye that he will not come to the feast? Talking about Christ. Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment that if any man knew where he were, he should show it, that they might take him. And so it speaks to me this way, that it was getting close to the end of his ministry whenever all this happened. It was getting close to the end whenever Judas would betray him. It was getting close to things. Now I want to show you just briefly another death, if I can find where it's at. Lazarus physically died, Christ rose, resurrected him, and he proved that he could be resurrected. Now in the second chapter of the book of Ephesians, ye who hath he quickened, who were dead in trespass and sin, in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air. This is Ephesians chapter 2. The spirit that now works in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in time past, in the lust of the flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sin, has quickened us together with Christ. By grace are you saved. Now, these people were not physically dead. They were alive, physical beings, but they're spiritually dead. These were Gentiles. Now, the Jewish people that didn't trust in Christ, didn't believe him, of course, they were sinners too. They had to be. But he is saying to them, and has raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Christ Jesus, resurrected into a spiritual life. With that, now let me read this a little further and then I'll go. That in the ages to come, or on down in the future, might show exceeding riches of the grace and his kindness toward us through Christ Jesus. For by grace are ye saved through faith, that in itself is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good work, which God has before ordained that we should walk in them. Wherefore remember that ye being in time by Gentiles in flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision, in the flesh made by hand, that at the time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope, without God in the world. That was the Gentile now. But now in Christ Jesus, who were so far off, made nigh by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace, who has made both one, has broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in flesh the enmity, now get that even the law of commandments, contained in ordinances, for to make to himself twain one new man, so making peace, that he might reconcile both to God in one body, by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby. And so he proved that there was a resurrection of himself as well. And then he proved to us, if we believe it spiritually, that we are dead in trespass and sin when we're not saved, and we can be resurrected to new life in Christ. But same resurrection in Christ. We're resurrected in him. Dead, and dying. Hard to understand. There's many different fields of it. And so, may God bless. Let's stand. I guess I